Like if I would have chose between those three characters, Derek would have been the last of those three characters that I take off of contract. There was potential with Derek and Shanice. There was potential with Derek and his coworker, his spicy Latina coworker. What's the potential with Ashley and Tomas? What is up, Beyond the Gates fans? Welcome to my Sunday preview for this upcoming week for Beyond the Gates. Next week's preview, it was a fine preview. I just feel as though the main storyline is going to continue to be the Anita Cancer storyline, which they're doing a good job. Obviously, it's well written, very much well acted. But man, we need some other stories to go along with it because it's heavy and it's just not a fun watch. It's not exactly something I want to. It's not must-see TV to me because it's a heavy subject and we already have to deal with enough heaviness in our real lives. Before I get to the preview, I do want to give a shout out to Maurice P. Carey, who plays Randy, who commented on one of my videos from June that I posted, or from the summer at some point, commenting on it because I think I was talking how I wanted to see them dive into the Randy character more, which they've kind of done since then. He's not just a person working for Joey. He's Haley's cousin. But I still also do think they could dive into Randy more. I do hope Randy actually becomes a complicated character. I've been saying that for a long time on the show. I don't know if the show has those big plans for Randy that I thought they might from the beginning. But hopefully, because I do enjoy Randy. And the Haley story is like the best story right now to me. Not necessarily do I find it like the best written, but it's like the one I'm looking most forward to. And the Lynette character is a big part of that. But they're taking that story so damn slow. I also read that they took the actor that plays Derek off of contract. So I don't know if that means that Derek is going to be leaving the show soon, or if he will just be on recurring like a lot of characters are. Joey's on recurring and he's on all the time. I do find it interesting, though, that they chose Derek to be the character to be taken off of contract and not Ashley or Tomas. Like if I would have chose between those three characters, Derek would have been the last of those three characters that I take off of contract. There was potential with Derek and Shanice. There was potential with Derek and his coworker, his spicy Latina coworker. What's the potential with Ashley and Tomas? I would love to know what Michelle Val Jean sees in those two characters, because I don't see it. The glaucoma in her 70s that she must have, she needs to help herself get that fixed, because I do not see it with Tomas and Ashley. And them continuing to try and shove them both into stories is only going to be a disaster. That's how I feel about it. They could maybe salvage Ashley if they come up with this really, really good story for her that doesn't involve a love interest. But if it involves a love interest, I think it's going to fail, I fear. Tomas, I don't see any potential in that character. They want us to really care about him trying to work his way up in Bill's law office. Who gives a fuck? Truly. So I don't mind it. Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, it's so bad that Derek's off contract because he's such a good character. That's not true at all. But like, of all the choices, it's a weird choice to choose Derek and not Tomas or Ashley, in my opinion. There's been a lot more negative commentary on Ashley and Tomas than Derek, from what I've seen. And Derek gets a lot of negativity too, especially when the negativity is the pairing of him and Ashley. But still, odd choice. Let's move on to the preview. The preview for this upcoming week starts with the Duprees having a good time. Seems like they're having some party or something. That's good. They can't stay sad and scared for Anita this entire storyline, because that is not going to be good television. I've been talking about this past week about how a lot of you in the comments are not even wanting to watch the show right now because of the Anita Cancer storyline, because it is so heavy. I know there are others in the comments that say it brings It brings attention to issues that people should get tested, but we're watching this for entertainment, not to be told that we need to go to the doctor and get checkups. Not that I'm against that. I'm okay with them doing the storyline, but when it's like the only storyline that's getting the brain power right now, and seems like the storyline that's going to get by far the most airtime for another month on the show at least, it's a tough watch. So we'll see what the Duprees are having fun about this week. The preview also shows Andre talking to Ted about Bill, and Ted is telling Andre that Bill needs to stay in his lane. Andre asks what he should do if Bill doesn't stay in his lane, and Ted tells Andre that he needs to put him there. So it seems as though Andre is going to get sick of Bill always being the one that Dani leans on, or the one always trying to be there for Dani when Bill is her ex and wasn't a very good partner when they were together. I hope that Andre goes about this right, though, because I don't want them to make Andre like too jealous of this, or I don't want them to make Andre go too far in trying to put Bill in his place and it causes some rift between he and Dani, because the two people that are annoying in the storyline is Dani and Bill. And although I like their chemistry too, and I like the dynamic that Dani and Bill have, even though it's toxic, I also like the dynamic that Dani and Andre have. But at least I'm, looking forward to this. I do want Andre to have some sort of pushback to Bill. I think that would make for some good scenes. He's put Bill in his place a few times. He's had some good lines against Bill when they have had some run-ins over the past couple months, and I would like to see more of that. But it's interesting to see that Andre is feeling some kind of way about Dani and Bill's connection right now. Next in the preview is Vanessa running to Joey like she needs help, and Joey asking if someone hurt her, and who really gives a shit about these two? Not I. The problem with this storyline is that there's like no obstacle in their way, really. It's like Vanessa doesn't care about anything right now except just being Joey's woman and being a part of his organization. But like, what's the pushback to that happening? They even have Donnell, her son, seeming okay with it. Maybe her daughter will be the one not okay with it. I don't know if her daughter will ever appear, although I've heard rumors that she will be appearing at some point soon. But yeah, it's like Vanessa just gets to be Joey's right-hand woman, and she's always running to him for help, even if she's at her most pathetic. And it's just another storyline that I feel can be very much fast-forward material. If I didn't watch the show live, I would definitely be fast-forwarding Vanessa and Joey's scenes, to say the least. So I'm not looking forward to whatever Vanessa is coming to Joey about. It's probably going to be her acting pathetic about something. I don't have high hopes for those scenes, and until both of those characters get some sort of pushback, it's going to be hard for me to care, because I don't feel like there's no pushback on Joey either. I feel like Joey feels like he's invincible, and nobody really ever challenges Joey too much. So until that happens again, I mean, Doug was the only one trying. It didn't work out for Doug, but at least someone was trying. Then in the preview, we see Marcel telling Leslie that Armstrong isn't someone Leslie wants to cross. Leslie says neither is she. Are we building up some sort of Leslie and Joey messing with each other? I would be okay with that. The two villains not liking each other. The two villains getting not cozy with each other and actually hurting each other is something I can go for, because I think both Leslie and Joey could use some hurt in their lives, to be honest. So I'm okay with that happening. If they're building up some sort of Leslie and Joey rivalry, I'm here for it. That dynamic is interesting to me, because Joey is very much in control in his own way, or at least likes to be in control in his own way. And Leslie, at least when she's written as a villain and they don't try and write her as a tweener, they make Leslie very unpredictable. She's kind of psychotic. So I can see Leslie really hurting Joey in some ways because she is unpredictable. And I would say more unpredictable than Joey. Joey is very predictable, which is why I roll my eyes that he thinks he's untouchable and other characters act like he's untouchable. Because all Joey really does is have some... He's like a low-level thug to me, is Joey. But apparently he has a lot of money, like everybody on the show. They have endless money. But like he works in a low-level thug way. He just hires people to do his shit for him. He does have the police in his pocket at least. I guess that is the biggest thing that he has that differentiates him from being a low-level thug. But he operates like a low-level thug, and I just don't think he should be the big bad on this show, but they put him in every damn storyline. Up next in the preview is Nicole and Ted looking like they are on friendlier terms, which I'm okay with, but I don't know exactly where they're going with that. Will they just stay friendly as a divorced couple? Maybe. I know Carlton's going to be back in this next week. I have no idea where Kyle is. They teased us with Kyle, and he hasn't been back since, but we have to act like Nicole and Carlton have chemistry when they don't. Whatever. Up next in the preview is Naomi and Chelsea and Kat talking about their mothers getting the gene test, and Kat was throwing one of her fits, sick about talking about the gene testing and the cancer. And typically, Kat's personality gets on my nerves. The whole spoiled rich girl personality does not mesh well with me personally. But I'm on Kat's side in this one because I am kind of over all of them discussing this cancer topic already. So I think Kat's response to this is very realistic. Everyone is worried that they might have the gene. Everyone is worried for Anita. And I think Kat just wants to... Well, I think part of it is Kat wants to avoid her feelings on the situation. But I think she also wants to be realistic in this situation that even if she doesn't have the gene, she can still get cancer. And then last, we end the preview with Dani and Nicole on the phone talking about their test results being in. So I guess we'll be finding out if one of them does have the cancer gene. I'm assuming at least one of them probably does, so they can have this as a possibility of a future storyline for one of the characters probably. Which I don't want a second cancer storyline anytime soon. So anyway, I'm going to read some of your comments over the past week. Honestly, I'm not going to read comments about the cancer storyline because I am cancer storyline out, to be honest. I feel just like Kat with the storyline. Dupree Richardson said or asked, do you think Nicole and Carlton are boring together? I said in the comments that yes, I do find Nicole and Carlton boring. And I just find them as too platonic. They are very platonic together. They give off platonic friends and nothing more. That's the energy between them to me. That's the kind of chemistry they have. Platonic chemistry is a thing, but when you just got that, I don't see how you may move it to the next level, especially on a TV show. So I feel like Carlton is there as like a placeholder until they can have Greg Vaughn, come onto the show more often, maybe. That's what it feels like to me. But as I said, I think at some point last week or the week before, I'm okay with Carlton being an obstacle for Kyle and Nicole getting together. I think more couples on this show need more obstacles like that. Anyway, a lot of you agreed in the comments that Nicole and Carlton are boring and asking where Kyle is. Qua Sarah had a funny response saying Nicole and Carlton are so boring together that they should be on their phones the whole time they are talking together. I couldn't have said it better. You are 100% right, Qua Sarah. Hemi30 said, all I have to say about Nicole and Carlton is where's Kyle? You get me all worked up and excited for Greg Vaughn, and I'm still stuck looking at Carlton. I'm so sick of him fluffing her ass up with all of that damn sweet talk. I like Nicole, but she ain't perfect. He just annoys me. You're right, Hemi, because another problem for the Carlton and Nicole pairing is that Carlton acts like a simp for her. And that doesn't really bode well for a budding relationship either. Plus, we know the backstory that Carlton has always like had this crush on her, so it's weird because he was friends with Ted for so long, and then they finally get divorced, and then Carlton wants to move on to the scene. There's just a lot of things working against this pairing. Chemistry is one of them, but also I agree, Hemi, that his sweet talk is another, because he comes off like a simp. He comes off as a high schooler who was friend zoned and finally thinks he has a chance, but he's not a high schooler at his big age. Alicia8857 said, I'm betting dollars to donuts Ted will end up involved in Leslie's project that she stole from Samantha, by the way. I mean, probably. They like to keep Leslie and Ted in each other's orbit. I do think Ted needs to be in Leslie's orbit, as I've said this week at 1.2, because it's Leslie's only motivation that they've written for her that is stuck, is that she has this weird obsession with Ted. And until Leslie gets another motivation as a villain, that's kind of what we're stuck with. Alicia also said, there's absolutely no need for Dani to bring Bill in when she talks to the girls. Here's how it should go. Dani talks to the girls and urges them to talk to their father. Yeah, well, Dani did the opposite. She, of course, went to Bill first before going to the girls, which didn't work out. And I think Dani just has a hard time not going to Bill for things because I guess their relationship started when she was so young, and she still hasn't broken those bonds to him, even if those bonds can be quite toxic. Book Chalice said, I hate to say it, but they need Bob Guza Jr. back. And yes, Michelle, Val, Jean, the writers, and all the decision makers are stubborn about letting go of failed characters and storylines. They have no excuse. Beyond the Gate is not Days of Our Lives, which tapes too far in advance and to make impactful changes. MVJ has been in the game too long to be this blind to all these rookie mistakes. I think it's time for a shakeup at the top. Yeah, clearly when Bob Guza Jr. was a co-head writer, the show had more vision. And you can actually see in the first 6 months of this show that the storylines had vision. They were going somewhere. They were interconnected well. Characters were not just floundering. Some things weren't working still, like Ashley and Derek, and like Tomas and Kat and Eva. But they still had vision. So many stories right now don't have that. The Anita Cancer storyline is the only thing with vision, and I feel like the show wants to have this storyline be the storyline that brings the Dupree family together and shows off their strength and their courage and their bond, and that's great, but they all need better individual stories. Because even the other good story, which is Andre, Dani, Bill, Haley, the Bill and Haley stuff's moving a little too slow. Moving a little too slow now. I know it's a slow acting poison, but let's go somewhere with it, because it's starting to feel like that doesn't have vision either. Angel Lynette Bolden said, my God, I hope that Ted won't go to Leslie or Eva running his trap about Anita to them. It's not any of their business. Well, Ted already ran his trap to Shanice. He and Eva will probably talk about it at some point, and then Eva's going to tell Mama. So I'd hope they don't bring Leslie into that storyline, though. Devin said, how irresponsible of a politician do you have to be to completely cancel the speech last meeting you've been talking about for weeks? Martin could have waited an hour and went and saw Anita. As I told Devin in the comments, this is probably how Bill will beat him when they run for office together. I mean, I don't know if Bill's actually going to run for office, but they have teased that, and I can see that happening. Martin will probably win that, though, if they really do run against each other, but I think there's a bigger storyline in Bill winning if they do run against each other. A couple more. Dupree Richardson said, Ted was correctly written today and yesterday. I agree with you. I do hope this is the start of a more likable Ted. One thing I have seen in the writing lately is they are trying to fix the Ted character when it comes to all of his personal relationships, especially with his children. They have been working overtime to fix the problems they made for the Ted character from Jump. So I'm going to try it. Well, here's the problem, though. Then they go and write Ted as a dumbass, though. Like him going to Nicole about the info Leslie gave him about Vernon supposedly cheating, instead of going to Vernon it either showed us that Ted is dumb or that he still ain't shit. So sometimes with the character of Ted, it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So I don't know. But I guess they are doing a good job with his children. That was one of our big complaints early on, especially with Martin. Ted and Martin never shared scenes. We're getting more Ted and Kat for sure. A little more Ted and Martin. Ted's always with Eva because he's trying to make up for the past. So I guess they are trying to make Ted a better father, but he still kind of ain't shit. And I don't know what that means for him and Shanice. Last comment. Sandra Washington said, something is brewing to bring something different that will surprise everyone. The brewing is getting ready to come out, and I think maybe it will be about Eva. I don't know if Leslie stole Eva from Nicole and Ted at the hospital and put Kat in her place, or if Nicole had twins and Leslie did something to take one of the babies. Yeah, this has been a speculation for a long time. A lot of you in the comments were saying this back in like May and June in my comments, and I was like, well, I'm okay with that happening in the future because I like the dynamic between Eva and Leslie as mother and daughter. Well, 6 months later, 7 months later, I'm sick of the dynamic between Eva and Leslie. So I'm okay with that information coming out. And I think with the way they've written Kat as so uppity about being a Dupree, it will be good for her character actually to be torn down, to be built back up, and I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities with that storyline if Kat really isn't a Dupree and Eva is, or if they're just real sisters like Sandra's saying in the comments and somehow Nicole didn't know and somehow Leslie took one of the twins. I mean, that's happened on soap operas before, so it wouldn't surprise me if that's the route they go. But I think the other route is probably more dramatic with more dynamics in that Eva's a Dupree and Kat isn't. The Kat stands are going to be so upset if that happens, but what can you do? All right, that's all for me today. Next week's preview could be better, but there are some things within the preview I'm looking forward to. I think the show really needs to bring back Lynette and Kyle, though. I think those 2 new characters are something the show needs. The new blood with new excitement, rather than some of these storylines with either no vision or the Anita storyline, which is a heaviness that a lot of you in the comments are saying you don't want to watch, or you are going to stop watching for a while because of it.